So I had my cousin have an English assignment for school recently, and he had to get people's answers to the question, "What does it mean to be human?" And he asked me, and because he thought I would have a interesting answer, and I think anyone who listens to this podcast regularly might agree. Not sure. So it was kind of it was kind of funny. And this is I did write a blog post about this for the site, and I'm just going to read that to you now, and then we'll talk a little bit about this. Yeah, what does it mean to be human? And I guess the first thing I did was I reframed the question, which is, what does it mean to me to be human? Because obviously, question can be the literal question didn't make much sense to me. It's probably a biological question. But yeah, this is more of an existential version of the answer. So we're going deep here. Okay. To me, it means to exist and realize our best possible form of ourselves, to truly express and accept who we are in the context of the world or universe at large. It means to be flawed, to develop and grow up imperfect because of how complex we are psychologically and socially. No one can grow up perfect. Everyone picks up defects along the way. To be truly human is to live an intentional life despite those defects, to rise over and conquer them, to live meaningfully anyway, despite challenges. The best expression version of ourselves, I believe, at time of writing, is to be found in self-transcendence, of thinking and caring about more than just ourselves, but extending the idea we have of ourselves beyond one body that is roaming around to include all living things. To be human, to me, means being given a gift. And then we observed and evaluated based on what we do with that gift, whether we hide it from the world, whether we ignore it and stash it away, because hiding our gifts from the world is not human. To be human means to live with the intention the universe gives us. I believe forces far outside our awareness, be they gods or whatever else, do exist and try to push us along a certain pathway, a pathway toward a unique discovery, a pathway to the best use of our gifts. To surrender to self-transcendence, we must follow this course. To be human means to struggle, to feel things, to experience things, good and bad, to take it all on the chin and continue, to live a journey, not lived after a journey, not what comes at the end, but to make that journey about the journey. I think being human means to pause and to be human, to take in the world around us and see things for what they truly are and not what we imagine them to be, to see deep down into the truth and come face to face with reality. So that's my very deep, obviously, answer to that question for my cousin's English assignment. And I guess what I would reflect on, I'm probably not going to unpack too much about what I said and why there. What I will say is that this is an iterative process. That if you ask me that question again in a year, and that's something I could probably, or we all could, reflect on once a year, that question, and then write what it meant to us and record it down and see how it changes and evolves. And rather than unpacking what I said there, I can kind of think, I'm just thinking and reflecting now as I talk to you about what lessons and what events and what thoughts and what conversations triggered those thoughts at that time as the best I'd piece that together, or piece together my answer to the question at that point in time. And I guess there's a certain pain that comes with the zooming out, and I do a lot of the zooming out on life that we do in this podcast. When I was preparing for this episode, I thought something I do a little bit more often now is do you ever just stop and just look around and think about how random our existence is and the way we're set up? I mean, strip it all back. I mean, we're this weird fleshy creature. Right? I've got a big bump here on my nose called my nose. I wear these glass things so I can see better, and they're clear frame because I like this style. We've knitted materials together to make clothes. We've got this funny stuff on our head called hair. We've got these certain limbs. We've built these, I'm in an apartment building right now. We've built these monstrosities out of these substances, and we sit and we play particular games, and our world is actually super random. It's like, how did we decide and agree that this was how it was all going to come together? This is one of many infinite ways it could have panned out, and evolution could have gone in multiple directions and ended up here. But I guess, and it's kind of painful and annoying sometimes, actually zoom out that far and look at what we actually do from a super, I guess a very universal global perspective, rather than just doing what we do and not questioning it. And you can keep asking, is that good or bad? And the next episode will be about that. But I think understanding who we are and what we are then gives us the context for how we should act and behave, if that makes sense. So what I talked about there was a lot of stuff about self-transcendence, about realizing our gifts, certainly having free will, but certainly being suggested a direction. The universe is kind of dragging us towards a purpose, and it can be understood in many ways, in a religious context or in a more of an agnostic kind of context. Depends on the individual. Many ways of thinking about that. But that way of if I understand things that way, then my behavior makes sense, right? I do a podcast, which I don't know if this will ever provide me direct income. I spend a fair bit of my time on it. And if you think about why do I do that, that answer about why I understand a human to be and what I understand our reason for being here to be might give you an indication, might not. And so do the things you're doing right now fit with what you think life is about? Or did you just find yourself doing these things? Is there intentionality? Is there discipline behind it? And to me, discipline, David Dida, author of Way of the Superior Man, it's a great way of defining discipline, which is not the suppression of desires we normally use in that context, like I'm hungry, like no, don't be hungry. Discipline is the ranking of your priorities, and then acting with accordance with that ranking. So if my priority is impact, do I act in a way that prioritizes impact in my life, or do I prioritize income or leisure? And that's something we can all think about and reflect on. Not necessarily a right or wrong answer, just individual choice. So it's a fascinating question with infinite kind of ramifications, just unpacking why, without even me deconstructing my answer to it. And I look at all the ways it can be significant in terms of what comes next and what behaviors it kind of impacts top down, that understanding how that governs behavior and actions in the journey. Super fascinating. So I guess my takeaway for today would be getting you to ask that question yourself. And you can think about it. I know many of you won't do it, but I certainly recommend just writing it down, piece of paper. It won't take you long. And even if you just think about that before you then go back and zoom back in and enjoy just being a little bit distracted in what you actually do all day, which is a relief from big thinking for sure. It might just be that compass showing the direction. Because the next episodes we talked about friendship in the last mini, I guess, section. And now we're going to be talking about, what are we as bloody beings in this random big soup of existence? And what are we, and what part of us is the me? And how much autonomy and freedom do we actually have? So we're going deep. So brace yourself for that. And I've started off with a bit of a deep banger, but that's basically where we're going next. So that blog post is available on the website if you're going to do the exercise, www.withjoewehbe.com/blog. The blog post is, what does it mean to be human? And you can also sign up there if you ever want to get the written material via email. I'll do a once a week email, so you can certainly sign up for that there. But I look forward to unpacking this. We're back again tomorrow, daily podcast. Just remember, obviously, in the meantime, the best way to open 1,000 doors for you is to concentrate on opening doors for others. So keep that in mind, and your understanding of what it means to be human could be very relevant to that. Thanks very much, guys. See you again tomorrow.